My cousin had been sleeping with my wife for almost a year. When I found out, I put him through my garage door, filed for divorce the same week, and made sure every person who mattered in Hamilton knew exactly what he was. They called me vindictive. They called me cruel. My cousin called from a parking lot somewhere and said he was sorry. None of that changed a single thing I did. Not one. I'm Aaron. 34. I work as a senior infrastructure coordinator for a utility company in the Hamilton area. Basically, I oversee the crews and contractors who keep the power grid running across the western part of the city. Hydro infrastructure, municipal subcontracts, the kind of work that nobody thinks about until the lights go out. Long hours, a lot of site inspections, a lot of managing people who'd rather not be managed. But it pays well and I'm good at it. And I bought my house in Ancaster, when the market still made sense and refinanced at the right time. By 32 I had a healthy TFSA, a decent RRSP, and a mortgage I could actually breathe around. I thought I was doing everything right. My wife, Rachel. I met at a dinner party at a mutual friend's condo in Dundas. She was finishing her master's in occupational therapy at McMaster. Sharp the way that catches you off guard. The kind of person who could be funny and direct at the same time, who actually listened when you talked. We dated 2 years. Got married at a venue in the valley, had a daughter 3 years later. Zoe is 7 now. She plays AAA hockey for her age group, and is already a better skater than I ever was. I coach her team on Saturday mornings. That used to be the part of my week I looked forward to most. My cousin, Blake, is 2 years younger than me. We grew up 3 streets apart in Stony Creek. Back when that was still a separate city, and not just the east end of Hamilton. We played shinny every winter from the time we could skate. He was my best man at my wedding. When he started his renovation company 4 years ago, I referred him to half my neighborhood. He had a good reputation. Good with clients, reliable enough, could charm anyone into thinking he was exactly the kind of person they should trust in their home. He was, by every measure I had, my closest family outside of my parents and my daughter. That's the part that doesn't leave you. The first signs were subtle enough that I almost convinced myself I was inventing them. Rachel started going to the gym on Tuesday and Thursday evenings. Nothing unusual. She'd been saying for months she wanted to get back into a routine. But then she started staying late on Wednesdays too. She got careful with her phone. Not paranoid, not aggressive about it, just present. She'd flip it face down on the counter. She'd bring it upstairs at night, instead of leaving it on the kitchen charger. She'd glance at it during dinner and say just work before I'd even asked. And Blake was around more. That wasn't new exactly, he'd always been around. Sunday dinners, Leafs games, holidays. But it shifted in ways I didn't want to name. He started stopping by on evenings when I was doing late site inspections, helped Rachel with a leaky faucet one Tuesday. Dropped off groceries another time because he was in the area. Watched Zoe one afternoon when Rachel had an appointment run long. Good cousin, good family. I told myself that. The thing about not wanting to look is that eventually looking becomes its own kind of exhaustion. And one night in late September, someone else made the choice for me. We were at a backyard gathering at our neighbor's place down the street. Got cold fast the way it does in Hamilton in the fall. 1 minute it's a reasonable evening. The next the wind off the escarpment is making everyone reach for extra layers. Blake lent me his jacket. I stuck my hand in the pocket out of habit and felt paper, pulled it out. A receipt from Burke's on King Street. $742. A 14K gold chain bracelet, dated 3 weeks prior. Blake doesn't have a girlfriend. Hasn't dated anyone in over a year. I stood there with the receipt in my hand, jacket half, conversation happening around me, and put it back in the pocket. Smiled at something someone said. Finished my beer. That night after Rachel was asleep, I went downstairs. She keeps an old iPad on the kitchen counter. Uses it for work notes, charges it there every night. She'd logged me into her Apple ID on it years ago so I could check something, and she'd never removed my access. I opened it, went to messages. And I sat at my kitchen table at 12:30 in the morning, and read 11 months of the 2 of them. Not all of it, I couldn't stomach all of it, but enough. The bracelet was for her. He'd sent a photo of it before he bought it. Does this look like something she'd wear? Asking his own cousin for gift advice. There were hotel stays logged in their messages, the Sheraton on King William, once in Burlington. There were long threads late at night, while I was asleep upstairs, while my daughter was asleep down the hall. He told her she deserved someone who paid attention. She agreed. She told him she'd been unhappy for a long time. He said he understood. The last message, sent at 4:47 that afternoon, while I was on a site in Stony Creek doing a meter inspection, was him telling her he was falling in love with her. She had replied with a single red heart. I put the iPad back face up on the counter exactly as I'd found it, went upstairs, lay down in the bed beside my wife, did not sleep. I want to be clear about something. The quiet guy doesn't mean the patient guy. I've been called dependable my whole life. By my family, by Rachel, by everyone. Dependable means you handle things. It doesn't mean you absorb things without limit. What I did in the next 48 hours was very deliberate. I wasn't managing my emotions. I was choosing exactly how this was going to go. First thing the next morning, I called RBC from my truck in the driveway before Rachel woke up. Asked for a full statement review. That's when I found the transfers. 7 months of them. Small enough not to trip any automated flag. 200 here, 350 there, always to the same external account. I recognized the business number attached to it 2 minutes later, when I pulled up Blake's company profile on the CRA business registry. He'd registered Mercer Home Renovations at that number 3 years ago. I'd helped him do the paperwork. My lawyer that morning called him from a Tim Hortons parking lot in Dundas so I'd have noise around me in case I needed to compose myself. I didn't. I told him what I had. He told me what to do. I did exactly that and nothing more. Friday morning, while Rachel was in the shower, I took her phone off the bathroom counter. Her passcode was Zoe's birthday. She'd set it when Zoe was born and never changed it. I opened her messages and sent Blake a text. She knows. Come over now, we need to figure this out. His reply came in 3 minutes and 40 seconds. On my way. I put the phone back before the shower turned off. Then I set my own phone behind the row of photos on the living room bookshelf, angled at the front door and the kitchen entrance, and started recording. 40 minutes later, he used his key. Walked into my kitchen with 2 large double-doubles from Tim's. One for her, apparently. Wearing his Carhartt jacket, and found me sitting at the table with an empty mug and nothing on my face. He stopped, set the coffees down, said my name. I was already across the kitchen. What I'll say is that he went into the hollow core interior door to the garage, shoulder first, and the door lost the argument. He hit the floor and the coffees went with him. He's taller than me by 2 inches. And probably 20 pounds heavier. And it still took him 3 full seconds to understand what had happened. Rachel ran from upstairs. She saw him on the floor with his hand braced against the drywall, and me standing in the doorway, and she said, "My name the way people say names when they're buying time." "How long?" I said. As she didn't answer. "Rachel, how long?" "Almost a year." Barely audible. I looked at Blake. He'd gotten to one knee. His jaw was already showing color. "Get out of my house. Take the key off the ring before you go. Leave it on the step." He went, left the coffees on my floor, left the key on the front step and didn't look back. Rachel, I gave 1 hour. She said we could work through it. She said Zoe's name like I'd forgotten which one of us was Zoe's parent. I told her the custody arrangement would be explained through our lawyers. I pulled up the recording on my phone, showed her the timestamp, told her the bank transfers and the TFSA's activity were already documented and filed. Her face went very still when I said TFSA. 1 hour, I said, or I call the OPP and have you removed. 58 minutes later, she came down with a rolling suitcase and a duffel bag. She stood at the door and started to say something. I pointed at the street. She left. I locked the door, called the locksmith, and opened my laptop. The family group chat has 63 members. I'm not going to pretend I didn't think about this before I did it. I decided the alternative, letting them hear Blake and Rachel's version over the next week, was worse. I uploaded the bracelet receipt, the bank transfers, screenshots of the message thread. The relevant ones, nothing gratuitous. Just the ones where they planned and lied and talked about me. Like I was an obstacle between them and a cleaner life. Typed one line. Before you hear their version, here's mine. Posted it. My phone was ringing before I finished locking my screen. My aunt, Blake's mother, called 6 times. I declined all 6. My uncle from Barrie sent a message I won't repeat here, directed at Blake. My cousin from Sudbury said she was sorry. My mother called once, got through on the second try, and didn't say a single thing in his defense. That mattered more than I can explain. Blake's business Instagram and Google profile still had my admin credentials from when I'd set them up for him years ago. I logged in, posted the same screenshots with one caption. Before you hire Mercer Home Renovations, you should know what their owner does in the homes of the people who trust him. The post had 83 comments before he managed to get the account flagged and taken down. The screenshots had already circulated. Word travels fast in the trades. And Hamilton is a big city that operates like a small one. Monday morning I filed for divorce on grounds of adultery at the Ontario Superior Court, on Main Street. Temporary custody order for Zoe. Injunction on the TFSA. Rachel's lawyer spent the next 2 months trying 3 different angles to explain the transfers away. None of them held. Blake lost the Burlington developer contract that Thursday. 9 townhouse units, his biggest job to date. His business partner bought him out by the end of the month to protect what remained of the company's reputation. Last I heard he's doing cash jobs in Brantford. Nothing that requires a portfolio or a reference. Rachel's hospital put her on administrative review, pending an HR investigation. Apparently a conduct clause in her professional registration Applies in ways she hadn't considered. She kept her position, narrowly, but was transferred to a satellite lake across the city. I didn't arrange that. I didn't need to. They showed up one Thursday evening. All three, my aunt, Blake, and Rachel, parked in my driveway like they still had standing there. I opened the door before they knocked. My aunt said I was tearing the family apart. I told her I hadn't torn anything. I'd just shown everyone what was already there. Blake said he was sorry. I asked him what, specifically, he was sorry for, and he couldn't find the words. Rachel made one last attempt. She needed to tell me something private. Something important. Could we please have 5 minutes alone? I told her anything she had to say should go through my lawyer. She grabbed my arm at the door. You need to hear this, Aaron. It wasn't what you think. Blake and I, it was already falling apart. I was going to end it. I was coming back to you. I looked at her for a long moment. The last message you sent him was a red heart. At 4:47 on a Thursday, while I was in Stony Creek doing a meter inspection. I paused. He replied immediately. You sent 3 more after that. She didn't have an answer for that. Good night, I said, and I closed the door. The divorce finalized 6 months later. I got primary custody. Rachel transitioned to regular weekend parenting time after an initial supervised period. We communicate through a co-parenting app now. It's impersonal, and I prefer it that way. I was promoted to regional coordinator 8 months after all of this. Turns out when you stop quietly managing someone else's deception, you have a remarkable amount of energy for your actual work. Zoe's team finished second in the regional tournament last spring. She scored the tying goal in the 3rd period of the semifinal and screamed loud enough that I could hear her through the glass from the bench. I was already on my feet before the puck hit the net. Afterwards, she came off the ice and said, "Dad, did you see it?" And I told her I hadn't looked away for a single second. I'm seeing someone now. She's a paralegal with her own complicated history, involving people who took things they weren't entitled to. We're not rushing. We fit together in a way that doesn't require explanation. She came to one of Zoe's games recently and sat 2 rows behind me, and at the end Zoe skated over and waved at both of us, like she'd been waiting for exactly this arrangement for a while. My cousin sent one long message 2 months ago. Said he'd been in therapy. Said he understood now what he'd taken from me. Said the remorse was real and he needed me to know it. I read it once, put phone down, and went back to whatever I'd been doing before it arrived. Some people mistake silence for forgiveness. It's not. It's just a decision about what's worth your time. My daughter asked me last week if I was happy. I told her yes. And for the first time in longer than I want to admit, I wasn't working to make it sound true. There's a version of this story where I'm supposed to have regrets, where I'm supposed to say the anger wasn't worth it, or that burning everything down only burned me too. I don't believe that version. What I did was proportionate to what was done. What I protected was real. What I walked away from needed to go. Some things once broken can't be rebuilt. Some people show you exactly who they are, and the only honest response is to believe them completely. I believed them. I just made sure they couldn't pretend I hadn't.